Climate change has been a topic of debate for many years now, and we've seen many political debates occurring where one side is saying, I support climate change, I want to change how we live in order to help our environment, and another side saying, I don't think we have all the data in, we're not 100% sure, let's hold off on changing how we work, or just flat out saying, I don't think you're doing good science, I don't think you're right, I do not think our climate is changing. Now, before I get into the politics of this whole thing, I wanted to talk about what exactly is climate change. Climate change, in its simplest form, is just the change in temperature around the world from what it should be, or what it was. This can lead to changes in how our world functions as a whole. Now, a lot of people believe that humans are the only cause of climate change and we're 100% to blame. This isn't true. We have seen climate change for millions and millions of years. Throughout all of our geological periods, there has been some kind of climate change. Humans haven't been along that round. We can't have that large of an influence. But as we can see, climate change has been going for just about as long as our Earth has. We have seen rises and falling of global temperatures in response to stresses. One of the major factors in how our world and how our climate changes is the carbon dioxide concentrations. Now, as we can see here, there has been large fluctuations in the concentration of carbon dioxide in the past 500,000 years. We can see large peaks and low valleys. But if you look off to the right, you can also see a massive, massive increase past what we previously had seen as the maximum, which was about 300 parts per million. Now we are over 400 parts per million. This means that we might be seeing some of the harshest increases in average temperature that we have seen for hundreds of thousands of years. Now, what does this atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration really mean? And is it impacting us today? The short answer is it is causing temperature changes today. Here we have a graph from 4 research agencies showing the temperature anomalies in the past couple hundred years. As you can see at the beginning, we're actually cooling. In the natural cycle, we'd be heading for a glacial period right about now. But humans decided to come in and say, hey, we want to build machines, we want to burn coal, and we want to burn oil that contain carbon dioxide. And so we did. And as you can see, we have had a temperature increase ever since then. And we continue to be on a general trend of increase. But the temperature change is quite small. You can see even in this graph, it's only 0.8 degrees Celsius. A lot of people don't care about a single degrees. If you ask someone if they want the room at 75 or 76, it won't matter. But that's not how our world works. In our world, we will see massive changes due to just these small global average temperatures. Because remember, these are global temperature changes. That means in some areas we might see a small increase in temperature, in other areas we might see a massive increase. These kinds of massive increases could lead to longer and more severe droughts and heat waves that travel through the area. And smaller changes can change how precipitation works, how much rain is annually given in a year to an area, how intense hurricanes are, and there are many other ways in which our environment changes. As I've said before, we haven't seen this kind of increase in hundreds of thousands of years. We don't know how the global system will change. We just know it will. Now, with all of these impacts, and trust me, there are even more impacts that I could go into: sea level rise, loss of ice caps, so many other possible impacts. But with all these impacts and all this evidence showing, hey, we are having climate change, why aren't we doing anything? Why aren't we trying to switch off of carbon dioxide emitting energy sources and changing to greener energies? Well, one of the major reasons is because of how our world is structured. Currently, right now, we transport our goods using gas. We heat our homes using coal or oil. And basically, everything that we do that requires electricity is releasing carbon dioxide, is majorly using these non renewable sources. And the other reason is because people do not want to change. There are some people in the world that are benefiting from this kind of structure. You have oil, gas, and coal companies that require our use of coal and oil and gas to make money. They need to make money to survive, so we need to burn oil and coal for them to continue to prosper. And these kind of companies have become some of the largest in the world and have made sure to influence politics to continue to work to their side. And this has caused some pretty striking claims by some agencies. One of the most popular news agencies is Fox News, and they are also known as a climate skeptic area. I was curious, so I decided to look up climate change Fox News. And this is the Google results that came through. And we have what global warming, there is no climate crisis, global warming hot air, no scientific proof. We have a lot of claims and a lot of stories about how everyone else is wrong. Trust me, I'm right, is what they're trying to say. But scientifically, consensus is in. Scientists agree that climate change is happening, and how we run our societies is a major problem in that. But these oil, gas, and other kind of electric companies have their own chips to play. They're trying to influence news corporations like Fox and political systems. In fact, the oil and gas industries contributed more than $84 million to political candidates in the 2014 election cycle. And they also spent 163 million on television ads in the open market. Meaning that they're trying to get out there and saying, hey, coal is the best, oil is the best. Don't believe the climate skeptics. There's no problem with what we do. It's all fine. When in fact, our world isn't fine. We're seeing the temperature changes, we're seeing the climate change, and these kind of political debates on whether it exists, whether climate change exists or not, are just counterproductive. What we really need is debates on how to confront the problem. Do we invest? Does the government invest in its own kind of green energy? Do we change the infrastructure? Do we give subsidies to the private sector for including more greener energies? These are the kind of political debates I would like to see, instead of there's snow, so there's no climate change, and one side trying to argue that there is. The political sides of the debate are completely ruining the science behind climate change and are ultimately a negative on our ability to confront this major problem in our world.